when we're talking about an age where AI does everything, and they call it the post-scarcity society, and we just live in abundance, and there's time, and there's some version of UBI. There's complex discussions online about what UBI is going to mean in this post-scarcity, because it's a whole economic shift, the post-scarcity world, right? And I think the title of that guy, what's his name, Emao, of his page, what happens when capital no longer needs labor? How does labor gain capital? And that's the economic, question here. That's the big question here. So there needs to be some kind of UBI, but at the same time, there also needs to be like a universal AI that everyone has to just keep up with being in this society. So how are governments going to play into that? How is the state going to play? What does it mean? Are you a laborer? Are you an employee? Do you run a business? And so you mentioned purpose. And I think being an entrepreneur is going to be it's just what everyone is naturally going to become, because as humans, we like to solve problems. We feel good solving problems, and we all solve problems differently, which makes us all unique. And when all our basic needs are covered, we're just going to try to find problems to solve. So we're all going to become entrepreneurs.
Maybe. I mean, maybe there's a aspect of that. I mean, this is where, you can get kind of conspiratorial, right? Because as human beings need to find fulfillment in problem solving or in some type of purpose in this world, right? And they can't because AI takes care of everything. Well, maybe it's advantageous to, alter people's general sense of what happiness is through, maybe a concoction that you need to get injected into your arm. Anyways, that goes into a dystopian kind of future. But I think ultimately what we're trying to get at here is that we don't know what the future holds. But in terms of disruption, I think Bitcoin is on its journey right now, and it is what it is. There's not going to be any more impact. Well, let me rephrase that. It is what it is. It's on its journey, and the impact that any individual can have is kind of really, you're really distracting.
This is where having a human producer is. I mean, I wish there was one in the room because I'm running around trying to fix the light while you're talking. Sorry, but an AI producer couldn't do it.
Can we just I think we're good.
Yeah, we're
regardless.
Good. We're good now, unless it was a robot. Imagine having a robot podcast producer.
So
in
that's
the room.
the other aspect of it. But here's the point: the disruptive nature of AI is going to be orders of magnitude more than Bitcoin. And I feel like that's where it's important to put a lot of your resources and capital and attention to right now, is observing how that disruption happens, and then also understanding the implications, and then also positioning yourself well. So in terms of where my attention is going, it's going to be going less into how Bitcoin is going to be making an impact in society, because at this point, I think it's already maybe 80% of the way there. And more about how AI is going to be impacting society, because that is something that is on the horizon. And I think it's going to be orders of magnitude bigger than anything that Bitcoin will have.
And I think, as you mentioned earlier, one of your passions is in technology as a tool for sovereignty, right? Of the individual, freedom. And that really is what AI can be. Even right now, you learn how to use AI agents properly. You can, whether you're integrating that into a business or creating a business from it, you learn how to do that stuff. You can make a living. Well, you can make a fortune.
We were talking about it earlier, and we were talking about, okay, where do we go as a company, Sovereignty Studios? And I was like, maybe we transition to some type of AI R&D firm, right? Because just swimming in that soup, right? Being at the cutting edge of how things are developing, I think is naturally going to give you an information advantage that is going to allow you to create a business. And that's another thing we were talking about, right? Maybe R&D is where we need to put our attention to right now, because anything we build is going to be disrupted by AI. Things are going to move so fast and advance so quickly that, we could build something and then a few months by now it's disrupted, right?
Well, that's what I mentioned the other day, right? Imagine you have an event and you need videography, and there's just a bunch of little robots going around doing all the videography and all the shots. Like that's probably a ways off, but maybe not. Maybe it's not
5
that far
years.
off. Yeah, because I don't even think it's that far off. You see some of these robots running around and these little drones. You know, it's like, hey, the task is to here's the itinerary for the event and make a nice video about the event and capture the whole thing. Like, boom, there goes our bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you would think that even, the physical necessity to be in a space and, your labor being necessary to produce actual something, you would think that, yeah, we're safe. That's not really going to happen. But with the advancements of robotics and then you tie AI into that, not really.
So that's why we wanted to have this conversation publicly today. I mean, just to discuss these ideas, explore things a bit, because we were doing it anyway. We're like, this should probably just be live. But partly is because, okay, so if you're going to start a business today, which we kind of are, we've been swimming around, just, trying to figure out what it is that we're trying to do. And you realize, okay, what's not going to be disrupted in now or in 5 years? Like, what's actually sustainable? Well, the sovereignpreneur thesis of being a sovereign individual in this transition age of the nation state losing its power, being free to go wherever you want. Part of that is Bitcoin. And the next part of that is probably going to be harnessing AI and agentic AI and being able to use it for your entrepreneurial needs. And who knows how big this window is? It may not be very long before AI just swallows up the world and then we're in this UBI. So who knows what that scenario is? But in this transition, it's so important not just to own Bitcoin, but to be able to use this technology, because at some point, the workforce gets fired and replaced by AI. Unless you're already using AI, you're harnessing it to make your work better, you become more valuable.
Well, look, the way I see it is that the majority of people I think are going to give up their agency and their autonomy, and they're going to be absorbed into kind of this, I don't know if the right word is monotone, right? But this kind of monotonous world where everything is kind of planned out for them.
But they're already there.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So as AI advances, that's only going to deepen and accelerate. And then there's going to be a world where people want to maintain their agency, their sovereignty, their humanity in a lot of ways. And for that world, like, the tools need to be built and the communities need to form. And I think that's the world to focus on right now. That's where my attention, as someone who's interested in individual empowerment and self-sovereignty, that's where I want to focus my attention on. And again, this goes back to the sovereign individual and the thesis. And that is that, those that are on the leading edge, those that make an effort to understand this technology and how it's going to impact them, and also how to utilize it and leverage it, those people are going to stand to prosper the most. And so that's where I want to be. Like, that's the camp where I want to be in.